Hi everyone, I'm Karen at Close to My Heart. Welcome to another process video. I think you're going to really enjoy it. We're going to get creative today with papers and how we use them. Before we get started though, as usual, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to this channel and also turn on those bell notifications, and that way you'll always be notified of Close to My Heart videos. Let's take a look at the papers we're going to be using today. This is our Christmas story paper packet and sticker sheet. You can see there's some gorgeous Christmas papers in here and beautiful stickers that will work on Christmas pages. Today I decided to challenge myself to use this Christmas paper for something other than Christmas. So as I was looking at the papers and trying to think of how it could inspire me to go a different direction, I started taking out one piece of paper or so at a time. I took out this one and I took out this one, and what I had left, I thought, gosh, I feel like I could do some fall things with these and even some of these stickers. So that kind of got my creative juices flowing. So I grabbed a few pieces of paper from our autumn Four Seasons paper packet and decided I'd mix the two together. And when I put those down, don't you see it? Don't you see how some of this could kind of go with some of this and do something really great with autumn? Now I'm going to set the stickers aside. We'll see as we work if I'm going to use those, and I'll kind of just choose as I go which papers I think are going to work best. Before I get started though, I wanted to show you the photos that I chose to bring to play with today, and give you just a little bit of my process of what I do when I'm about to scrap something. So I have these darling photos, maybe I'll come over to a close-up camera, of some of my grandkids at a sunflower field this year. I think they're darling. These are 5 of my 12, and this is one family with their mama and another family with their mama, and then all those kids again at a different location at the sunflower fields. And I was looking at those thinking, I think these could work really great on some of those papers. So that's usually where I start, is with my photos. Today my challenge for myself was to use Christmas papers for something other than Christmas. So today I actually started with the papers. But another thing that I quite often do is once I've chosen my photos, I print out the ones that I really want to make sure that I'm scrapbooking. This case, I had 4 that I really wanted to scrapbook. And as I thought about what I wanted to do with them, here's something else I quite often do. I will just grab a piece of scratch paper, look at what my photos are and how I might be able to use them. So a kind of a fallback for me is a really great page with a stripe in the middle that kind of grounds a row of photos. Sometimes it's 3 photos, sometimes it's 4. As you can see here, I've got 4 photos. So as I was kind of drawing my sketch of what I wanted to do today, I thought maybe this one could have a flip flap and some journaling in it. So that's the next thing I did. I thought about what I wanted to say. And here is what I wrote. For some reasons, when I saw these photos, I kept singing the Beatles' Strawberry Fields Forever song, but with Sunflower Fields Forever instead. Silly, I know, but hence the title of this page. I thought that this page would be fun to call Sunflower Fields Forever. So I journaled that. And this was in early September 2022 when Daisha and Brooklyn took the kids to Corn Bellies in Springville. I love these little people so much, and they look even cuter, as if that were possible, surrounded by sunflowers. I love fall. And so this is where I'm starting. I don't know if you do that. Quite often I start with my photos, think about what sizes I might want them to be, if I want to do a single or a double page, what I want to say in my journaling, and draw myself a sketch and kind of figure out how it's going to all fit together. And then I feel like I have so much space to play after that. Sometimes when I start with nothing at all and just look at papers or look at products, I feel a little stumped. But when I think about a little bit of what the page might look like, think about the photos I want and what that calls for in a sketch, then I feel like I can pick up my products and really go to town. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you 2 other things I did a little bit ahead so that I didn't bring the whole art studio down here to the video studio. I thought about what I might want to use as icons on this page. So I pulled a stamp set that is in our core catalog. This is called Chasing Sunshine, and I pulled this thinking this kind of looks like a sunflower, or maybe I could make it look like a sunflower. And it has coordinating dies. Then I also pulled something else that I love and I've been using like crazy, and all you're thinking is that's a white sheet of paper. You're going to see that it's actually a little more than a white sheet of paper. This is a sheet of alphabet stickers called Irresistibles, and I am thinking there's a good chance I can try the sunflower title out of these and have them coordinate with my page. So you can see I've done quite a bit ahead of time. I've also played a little bit with this stamp set. So I wanted to show you what I came up with, and we'll be doing some more of this stamping today if I like it on my page. I did a couple of the leaves from the stamp set that I thought maybe we could use. I have a few of those stamped, and I wanted to play to see if I could make this into a sunflower. So I did do that. I stamped this stamp, and then you can see I've added some Stickles right in the middle, and I've made that center a lot larger, almost like a sunflower, plus it adds a little glimmer and shine. So I've made a few of those too, and we'll make one together if I choose to use them on my page. So now you can see it takes a little bit of brain power, but when I've done this before I begin scrapping, I find that my pages and my layouts and my journaling, all of that is so much more successful if I just put a little thought into it. And really, this took a total of about 20 minutes to choose my photos, think about the sketch, print out my journaling. I could have written it, and look at some stamp sets that might work well with all of this. So now that you've seen kind of what my thought process is, let's get started and see what we can come up with together. Let's move over here where you can see a little bit better. And I'm just going to put my sketch right here to help me kind of think about where and the direction I was planning to go. And sometimes that changes. If you do what I do, you probably have found that there are times that you do this and you stick with the program, and other times that as you start that direction, your photos or your papers kind of just call your name a different way. So let's see, I'm going to start out with maybe this paper. I really like this. I realize there is none of this beautiful scarlet color in my photos, but I feel like it's a really great contrast and does feel very autumnish. So I'm just going to trim the zip strip off of that one and maybe try and use that as the base to this page. That zip strip is not very autumn, is it? It's very much Christmas looking. So I'm just gonna trim that off. And once you trim off the zip strip on our papers, you're left with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So I'm gonna start this place right here. And then my sketch is telling me maybe I would like to go with a band across the middle. So I think I'm gonna grab some paper that I think might look fun for the band. If I put some stuff on either side of that band, maybe I could go this direction. So my photos are 3 by 4-ish, so I would want this to be maybe a little bigger. So maybe I'll go with 3 3/4 inch piece here and just lay that on top and just see what's happening so far. I'm going to look also something that might be helpful to you. I like to choose the photo that I want to have stand out. If I'm doing a row of 3 photos, I usually put in the middle, and the one I really want to stand out here is this cute one of all those 5 little grandkids, and then the moms with them on either side. And I'm looking, thinking I probably should have made this strip a little bit larger. So maybe instead of throwing this strip away, I'll do a little adding to it. I'm going to just maybe scoot it up a little. Another one of those Christmas papers that I grabbed that might be fun here, that feels like those fields a little bit, is this pine colored paper with sprigs and things on it. So I think I'm going to try that, and maybe I'll add an extra inch to the bottom there and help ground those photos a little bit better. Okay, that adds some width, I think, and I actually really like that deep color at the bottom there, sort of just grounding everything nicely. It kind of just makes it look like they're supposed to be there, right? I also really love this little plaid zip strip as I'm looking at it in the camera, so I'm gonna just cut it off and see what I can do with that. I think that might look really cute on here. I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. You never know till you try, right? Sometimes you do. Sometimes I feel like I know right away what I do and don't want to use, and other times it takes a little trial and error. That's cute. I like it. Okay, so far this is what I've got going on. And another one of the papers in that Christmas kit that I thought might work really well is this really beautiful mink colored sprig paper. So maybe I'll try a little bit of that on either side of this too. That might break up this deep color going into that plaid. I'm just going to cut a couple of strips, maybe a 1/2 inch strip and maybe a 3/4 inch strip, and we'll see how those look. I think it'll give your eye a resting place between this pattern and this one. We'll see. Maybe this one at the bottom. Yep, I like how that breaks that up. Still gives me that deep color right there where the photos are going to rest, but also breaks up the patterns a little bit. Even though that is a pattern, it reads almost like a cardstock, but with a little more interest than a cardstock. I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far, but I'm still feeling like this scarlet is slightly overpowering what's happening in the photos. And so I'm trying to think of a way that maybe I can ground that a little better and still have this beautiful scarlet color that is in the Leaves in Autumn show. And I did grab a couple of pieces from that autumn paper packet. This one, it might be hard to see. Maybe if I come over here close up, you can see that it's got some tiny little mocha colored stripes on there. And I'm thinking, what if let's just slide this under here. What if I made a square of this that went under? Ooh, I'm liking how that looks, and I still love that I'm seeing some scarlet showing. So I'm thinking I want about 1 inch around the edges. So that would mean I'd probably want to cut this at about a 10 by 10 and see how that looks. And you might be noticing I'm not really gluing anything down yet. I think we all scrap a little differently. I do find though that when I glue as I go, I want to use an adhesive that moves really easily for me, and I love our Close to My Heart adhesive for that, because I can move it for quite a while after I've glued it down, and then once it sits, it's nice and positioned. It's not going to move again later. Okay, all right, I'm really liking what's happening here. I really, surprisingly, love this little black zip strip that's going on right there. So maybe I want to bring a little more black into this layout. Maybe I could put a little black behind this and even a little black back behind this scarlet. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to grab some black cardstock. I grabbed cardstocks in a few different colors to try out today. I've got some black and some white daisy, and then I grabbed a couple of colors that felt sort of like the sunflowers. I've got Sundance and Honey Butter, so I have those to kind of work with in addition to all those pattern papers I brought down to the studio. It's always kind of a fun surprise when I come down here and shoot a process video, because I grab things and then we play, and you hope that maybe you grabbed things that are all going to work well. When you guys do this process, you're probably in your scrap room or art studio or area where you do it all and you have access to all of your things. So when I come shoot a process video, I have to really rely on the fact that I might be grabbing all the right things. Let's see how this looks on here. I feel like I'm making really great progress at this point. I'm wondering too if it would look nice if I put this whole page on black to tie in that black that we've got going on there. Let's just see how that would look. Move this so we can see. There we go. Ooh, I like that. I think though, now that I've got everything cut the size of this paper, I think what I'll do is get it all adhered and then just cut a little bit off each of the edges of this scarlet to make that happen. I also feel like I'd like a little break between my photos and the plaid. So I'm going to grab some of this white daisy that I brought down and just cut some mats for those. So they're 3x4 photos. And if you guys watch our videos very often and watch me, then you know that I love 3x4 photos. I love almost any size of photo, but if I had to just pick one that I used forever, I think it would be a 3x4. And we need one more. So I'm just cutting these mats 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I think it's going to help ground those photos. And in my sketch, I had put a title here, and I talked about thinking about maybe using those Irresistibles to do my title. So I want to make sure I leave enough space there for that. Let me see how that looks on there. Yep, that makes a big difference, don't you think? Having just that little mat to sort of give a solid break in the pattern to the photo. Right, I think I might be about ready to start gluing things down. I think I'm still going to wait just a minute because I want to start playing with that title and make sure how high or low I want this strip to go to fit that sunflower fields that I had thought of. So I'm going to move all of these kind of out of the way for a second and bring in those Irresistibles. I grabbed a few stamp pads that I thought might coordinate with the sunflowers and things in the photos. I brought our Honey Butter Sundance, a black. I'm using Intense Black, Pine, and Rosemary. And then I also brought some Distress Oxide inks. I've got Spice Marmalade, Mustard Seed, and Vintage Photo. So I'm going to play with those a little bit. I think I'm going to try the Distress Oxide inks on the letters because they blend so beautifully, but I could use the Close to My Heart inks on there too. So I'm going to just grab a little bit of scratch paper, and that way I can mask off kind of what I'm doing here. So I'll start with the S and just make sure I like the direction I'm going. I'm just going to mask off an S a little bit here so I don't get the same colors that I'm putting on the S on any other letters I might not be using. So I've got these 3 colors. I'm going to try and do some kind of a little ombre look. So I'm going to grab some of my blending brushes here, and I'll start with this Mustard Seed at the top. I always like to daub it off a little bit on my all-purpose mat and make sure that I'm not putting too much ink onto my letter. I can always add more. So I'm just going to rub that on there and then grab another blending brush and go to this Spice Marmalade, which is more orangey or like the dark color in a sunflower. Same, I'm just going to kind of sponge that off. If I'd have been smart, I'd have grabbed something better to mask with, but since I didn't, this is what we're using. And then I think I'm going to try that brown color, which is called Vintage Photo, right at the bottom. And then we'll see how we like it. The nice thing about Distress Oxide inks is as you overlap them, they blend really pretty, and they can kind of transition from one color to the other. You can see exactly what I'm talking about here, I think, where it's dark and then it makes its way into more that orange color. And I'm just going to kind of go back over it with the orange and then into that yellow color. And then I'm going to grab just a tissue and wipe it off, because that way I'll take the ink off those little polka dots that are resisting. And I'm going to bring this over to the close-up camera and show you, because I actually really like how it looks. And I think I am going to go this direction. If I pull it off the sheet, you'll be able to see the S, I think. There you go. So I'm going to just trust that and hope that it's going to look nice with the page that I've started to build. And we'll go ahead and hurry and Distress ink the rest of this title. All right, we've got all of our letters colored. Right now it just looks like a bunch of cool candy corns, but I think they're going to be fun when we add them to the layout. So I'm going to move back over here where we've got a little bit further view so that we can start playing with this page and this title and see how it's going to work together. So let me move a few things back. And I think I'm ready to start gluing a few things down, maybe. I think I'll start with this. Add that. You can tell that plaid's on the back side of this really tiny little stripe. And I love patterns like this tiny little mocha stripe and those gray. Ooh, now that I've moved that, I can even cut down this piece. Those little gray sprigs that I showed you that are mink, the colors mink that they are, those kind of things. I love using those because I think that they add interest to your art, but also are not overpowering a pattern. And so mixing those with a little bit busier patterns is nice because it gives your eye a rest, but it's still interesting to look at. And then I use cardstock in places where I really want a rest for my eyes. Okay, here's what we've got so far. We've got this guy built. I'm just trying to get that centered. And then I'm going to put this right in the middle. This thing that I've got under me is called a Versamat. I can't live without him. In fact, when I'm making a 2-page layout, I have 2 of them right next to each other because all the measuring is so easy when you have a Versamat. And I can just look at it and see that I'm ending up in the right places to center that. Let me move that up a little. There we go. Now you can see what I see. All right, this is what we've got so far, and I'm going to just kind of lay this stuff that we've been playing with here so we can play with a title. I think that these letters are, I don't know, probably 1 3/4 inches tall and maybe about 1 inch, well, it depends on the letter, 1 inch to 1 3/4 inches wide. So I'm going to need to make sure that I leave plenty of space. I definitely want it to say sunflower, and then I was thinking I could use something small to do fields down here, strawberry fields, or fields forever. In fact, I think that might be even cuter since my journaling talks about that. It makes me think of that song. So I'm just gonna kind of put those right there and start working on my sunflower letters, which this is how I determine where to put my letters. First of all, we need to count how many. S-U-N, 3, F-L-O, 6, W-E-R, that's 9, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the middle will be the 5th letter, which would be, I gotta count, S-U-N-F-L. So the L would be the center. If I put this on my mat, I can use that 6 inch to move right up there to the L. And the nice thing is I even have a line there. So now that I've got the L on, I can take my ruler and just lay it across my Versamat, and that'll help me put everything else where it goes. So I'm just going to make sure my page here is very straight on my Versamat. And I'm just going to work out from the L. And knowing how big these letters are, I'm going to make them really close together because I'll be fine if there's a little space on the sides, but I'm going to be really sad if it goes way off. So I'm going to make sure that I do these really close together. And I love that ombre look. Doesn't that look so cute on this page? And I feel like the polka dots in these letters kind of bring in the polka dots from that Christmas paper that's now autumn paper. It's going to be tight, isn't it? Hopefully I'm going to make it. Maybe I should overlap them just a little bit. Let's see how this next side goes. We'll work out from the center again. I might need to adjust a little bit. And so I didn't push them down too tight so that I could adjust if I needed to. But starting in that center letter is really helpful in making sure that things fit nicely and are centered. I do the same thing even when I'm stamping. If I'm stamping a title on something, then I usually start at that center spot and work out. Okay, this tells me I need to move a little bit further to the left. These letters were just a little less wide than those others, so I'm just going to do a little bit of adjusting, which I can do because I didn't push them down too tight. And just slightly shift over so that the second half of this word isn't quite as squishy. Okay, so I've got my title on here. I love how that looks, and that's going to help me know where to put this little strip that I've got going on here. And again, I'm just going to use my ruler to kind of give me a straight line right across there so I can start adding these strips that we cut. And I think that's going to look amazing. Excuse my head for 1 minute. There we go. I'm just going to work my way up now with these strips that we started with. And I already can tell that I'm getting the look I really wanted. And look at how much of this Christmas paper I'm using on this page. We've got these sprigs, those polka dots, this zip strip. I think when you think about your paper packets in more than just what they were designed for, you'll be amazed at how versatile those paper packets really can be. I use pieces from paper packets all the time and mix with others because it just works with my photos. And so when I'm done, let's say I make some things that are Christmas out of this kit, I always just put everything back in the bag and save it in case I decide I want to use some of those pieces in other layouts. And I use that kind of method, I guess, all the time, where I just grab those pieces, find out what's going to look good with them, and use them up in another place. Okay, awesome. Loving how this is looking. Now, I did do a couple of things. I mentioned maybe using a flip flap in the center here to use that journaling. And then I've got that other photo, which I think will fill a flip flap really nicely. So I have a package here of our 3x4 flip flops. You can see you get some with the adhesive piece on the top and some on the side, depending on the direction of your photos. So I'm just gonna, I think, put this photo here into the flip flap. And one thing to remember when you're doing a flip flap is if it's opening from on the top like this bottom photo is going to be facing the opposite direction of the one on top of it, or else it'll be upside down when you lift it up. Trust me, I learned that through trial and error. When it's opening to the side, it's a whole different ballgame. Okay, and then this can go right under that, which I really like. So I'm going to commit. Now this flip flap I could put on my page protector, or I can cut my page protector so that it goes through the page protector. And so you can choose which way you want. This just folds over and then it sticks to the page protector or the page. And if you live in a really humid area, I would say maybe you want to do it the way I'm doing it right now and have it come through the page instead of being on top. I'm going to start committing to my photos here. It's turning out so cute. I love that you can lift that up and read my journaling. I love that title. And I did go ahead and stamp while in that interim, while we sped through me sponging these, my fields forever, I just used one of our alphabets, and I think that will look really cute right there. I'm just going to use my scissors and dovetail it. Here's a good dovetail trick. Just take your scissors, make a little slit in the center, then from the corner and the corner to that slit. Let's do that on the close-up camera, because every time I do that, I have people go, oh, show me how you did that. So just right there in the center, we're going to do a little cut right there and then go from the corner to the top of that cut and the corner to the top of the cut. And then you can see what nice little dovetailed ends I got that way. So let's go back over here and I'll put it right there. I'm just looking here to see what else I want to add. I had made a few of those leaves and things that I showed you at the beginning. I'm going to bring these over and just sort of play a little bit and see if I like them added in a few places. Okay, I think that's perfect. So let's make a couple of these things together because I do like these pieces that I created earlier. So let's just play with them for a minute and show you how I did that. Let's start out with this flower, and I have added that to a block. I'm going to use my honey butter and my Sundance. I don't know if you can tell that it's a little darker on the edges. So I'll show you how I did that because I want them all to match for this page. So first of all, I'm seasoning the stamp. Then I'm just going to ink it in honey butter, which is the same color paper I stamped this little Fields Forever on, and ink that up. And then I'm gonna go to this darker color, which is the Sundance, and I'm just gonna roll the edges of my stamp. Now I gotta figure out which direction this goes. Here we go. Nope, that's not it. I gotta keep moving it till it fits just right. Nope. There we go. And you can kind of see how it's shaded around the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing with some leaves here. I did this leaf the same way with two different greens, and that is pine and rosemary. So I think I'll grab that leaf and we'll start with rosemary and roll those edges in pine. Same thing, I just want to make sure my stamp is nice and seasoned. Just going to ink that in the rosemary and then roll the edges in pine. It's going to be a really pretty shaded look. You can see how it's darker on the tips. That's really nice. Okay, we're going to just pause for a second while I make a few more of these. Okay, I've got several of these made now, and I think I'm going to add this center. And so I'm going to move where you can see a little closer up for me to do that. And I'll bring this one over to use as my example. And I'm using our platinum colored Stickles. It's just a really fun glitter. It's almost like a gel. And it's really great to be able to play with. You can make lines with it. You can add raindrops. You can do all kinds of things. We have lots of different colors. I'm going to use little dots to make the center of a sunflower. So I'm going to create my own circumference here to make that larger center of this flower, and then fill it in. And as it dries, and the thicker you use it, the longer it takes to dry. This is probably going to take an hour or two to dry, which is why I made some ahead of time in case I did like it on the page. We wouldn't have to sit and wait 2 hours while it dried. If I did a tiny little piece of this, it would be dry in just, 15-20 minutes. But you can kind of see how that created a sunflower look. And I loved that the stamp gave me that option of getting that look of a sunflower, and you can kind of see the dimension. And then as it dries, it gets really nice and shimmery. So let's move back over, and we're going to put these flowers and things on our pages. So I've got my page that we've been working on here. I think we're just about done. I think we just now want to do embellishments and kind of accessorize a little bit. And I love that I was able to use so much of that Christmas paper to create a look that's not Christmas at all. Alrighty. So I'm just going to grab some leaves and flowers that we've created and just play a little bit and see what looks good here. I did bring the Christmas stickers with me. Let's see if there's anything on there we could use. This is a challenge. I feel like maybe we could have used this border here, but we've already done that with paper. There's some little stars we might be able to mix in on here. Oh, these would look amazing, I think. So maybe we'll try and use these little banners on our page. I'm going to start with this toffee one and just see. Look at that. I even was able to use some of the Christmas stickers on there, which is nice. I've got my Fields Forever I need to attach. And I kind of feel like it looks a little floaty right there. So I'm trying to think what I could do to, maybe I'll add a little bit of, I still have a little of that Distress ink on my blending brush, so maybe I'll just add a little bit of color to this. And then maybe we'll put something under it to ground it, because I don't like that it's just floating there. I might even use a little brown. And I did also bring some accessories, little dots that I think might be fun to work in here. Just a last little subtle thing. I brought another kit that's kind of a baking kit that can be Christmas baking or any kind of baking. Cute. That I brought those because I noticed it had some of the same colors of what I was pulling. And then I also brought, so we'll just see what works here. I also brought this set of accessories. These are our orange and yellow dots. I thought those would be nice accents maybe. So I'm just gonna start adding dots here and there and see what looks good. And I feel like we did it. This feels finished to me. I really love the story we told and how quickly this went together. And I really believe that a lot of the reason it went together so quickly is that I started out by choosing those photos, printing some journaling, and drawing myself this little sketch, which we miraculously stayed very close to as we created. And like I said, sometimes I go a whole different direction and sometimes I follow it, and I feel like we did very much what I drew here, and I really love how it came together. I hope you enjoyed watching and that it inspired you in some way, and maybe even to look at your paper packets in a different way. Maybe what I challenged myself to do today by using a Christmas paper pack to scrap something in a totally different way, you could do with a totally different kind of paper pack. Maybe use a summer paper pack to do fall, or you use a winter paper pack to do spring. You just can, when you think that direction, I think it opens up a door and a window of many possibilities. I'm thrilled with this. So that is our page today. That was tons of fun for me. I hope it was for you. And I hope that you'll join us again in the future for more Close to My Heart videos.